2 autumns ago, I wrote a story called The Autumnist. I've salvaged my favorite lines. On a gray, mid-October morning, I passed through my front gate for the city park, where I thought I might find a clever place to read, the sort of seat that is secluded, set amidst a quiet grove of trees and shrubbery, but also not so far from the walking paths of my fellow men, so that I need not forego my study of them. Without building a hermitage, I needed space to reflect while still being connected to the living human world. It was on my walk to the park, which took me down cobbled streets dusted with maple sighs, that I met a man in a tweed overcoat with a pipe in his mouth and a mustache on his lip. He rather looked like a professor or a detective of some sort. He had that clever seeing look about him, as if he were on his way to conduct some proper business at the British Museum, or muse over an old manuscript at the university. I felt certain I'd seen him before. "Fine day, is it not?" he remarked. I do not usually stop for conversation in the streets. I prefer to hustle by my neighbors with a nod and a faint good day. But that particular morning, I stopped to chat with the serious-looking fellow. "I suppose it is, sir," I replied, though the leaves are falling far too fast for my liking. "Are they?" "Nothing is quite timely about autumn," I grumbled. "How so?" He blew a soft circle of smoke between us. "I take it you are not keen on the season, dear girl." "Oh, I am more than keen," I assured him. "It is my keenness that depresses me." "You indeed look quite melancholy for someone who professes to love the blessed chilly season." "It is because of the gray," I explained. "In autumn there is a great thrill of color, yellow and brown and red, and an ethereal orange, but at the same time the world is gray." "Yes," he said. "And I feel such a rush to follow the wind through the countryside and along the coast into some deep rusted wood, and to pile leaves into an elvish abode and place pumpkins on my doorstep, yet I fear being out of doors for too long." "Autumn is speaking to you," the man said, in her sweet, mysterious way. "I don't see why the young must flourish in spring and summertime," I remarked. "Autumn has always suited me best. I am most at home in that falling, closing world. Feels like the world is dying a slow and mournful yet exquisite death. I cannot help but feel sad for how quickly the autumn goes, with her shades and spices and school bags, and stacks of books still waiting to be read. I can never quite enjoy it enough before it is swallowed up by winter." Autumn is mellow and cool and brown, and her morning breath is like a blanket covering you, urging you to stay inside and sleep for a moment more, to pour a cup of tea and come near the window and contemplate her bright morning glory, and then to retreat to the library and settle down with a book by the fire not yet lit, with a quiet person near you. But I feel like there must be some trophy on the shelf, some letter of congratulations, some little metal plate to allow me to seize that quiet rest. I feel that the quiet place is only opened after labor and hardship and growth, as if wisdom and experience are its initiation requirements. One must learn all there is to learn and do all there is to do before one can rest deservedly, decidedly. One must be wise and worldly, with a firm understanding of the world outside of autumn, before one can join the slumbering trees and the leaves that flit away. Okay, just by way of a little life update here, we have another wedding this weekend. One of my best friends is getting married, and it's a glorious weekend for a fall wedding. I'm in the wedding party, Zach's in the wedding party, so our entire weekend is going to be wedding festivities, from setup to rehearsal to the actual wedding day. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to film and share about that. Last weekend, Zach's sister got married, so that was another full jam-packed weekend, but it was a lot of fun and it was very special and happy. It's just that season of life for us. We're in our 20s, a lot of our friends and siblings are getting married. My 3 best friends are engaged right now, and I'm in all 3 of their wedding parties, which is a blast. And it's really fun to have all these sort of built-in excuses to see each other, going wedding dress shopping, bridal showers, engagement parties, all the things. So yeah, it's just a really special time of life, but it has made it a little bit challenging to spend time filming and editing YouTube videos because that typically happens on the weekends. And I also don't want to film too much of these friend and family events just for people's privacy's sake. So I'm not sure where this video is going to go from this point, but hopefully I can at least highlight a few of like the pretty details of the wedding, like the flowers, like the scenery, that kind of stuff. So that's all I wanted to say for now. The hubs brought me a latte. Let's see what this is. Very pumpkin-y, I think. Pumpkin spice latte, probably. Hi everybody, the weekend is past, it's Monday, I just got home from school. Mondays are always my busiest days. I teach 5 out of 6 classes, there's 6 periods in our upper school days, and I teach for 5 of those, which is, it's my busiest day. It's a lot considering I am still technically a part-time teacher since I'm also doing my master's part-time. So Monday is always a bit of a doozy, but it's also always ends up being a really great day because I'm coming out of the weekend and I'm mostly rested up and re-energized to get into it. So while I'm glad the day is over, it was a really, really great day. My classes went very well. Lots of really encouraging conversations with students and so much great reading and curriculum content covered. So I'm very happy with that. Tonight I'm doing a cardio kickboxing workout. That's sort of my Monday night workout that I've been doing now for a couple months, which is really fun. I just wanted to share a few things with you guys to sort of end off this video. First thing is that I saw the new Frankenstein movie over the weekend. If you haven't seen the one that has recently come out in theaters starring Jacob Elordi and Oscar Isaac and Mia Goth. I can't say the director's name. I can't pronounce it correctly, so I'm not even going to attempt to. But we saw it in theaters, and it was really great. I thought it was a very well-crafted movie, a great movie from like a cinematography movie standpoint, and I did think it really captured the heart of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. You know, it really explored those questions of what does it mean to be human? What is the human soul made of? What does it mean to have a human soul versus the soul of a monster? The body of a monster, sort of the tension between some of these things, and of course the question of what happens when we take life and death into our own hands and push science to its limits and play God and interact with the mysterious and the unholy in a way that we shouldn't, and do things that it's not our place to do, essentially. I thought the movie interacted really, really well with those sort of key themes and questions from the book, so I really appreciated that. They did change a bunch of like smaller details and plot points, which was not my favorite. So for example, in the book, the original book by Mary Shelley, Elizabeth is Victor's adopted sister. In the movie, she's his brother William's fiance, who he sort of becomes attracted to, but then she ends up falling in love with, okay, here's a spoiler, so spoiler alert, Elizabeth falls in love with the monster in the movie, and then it's actually Victor who accidentally kills her. He's trying to shoot the monster, but he shoots Elizabeth instead. In the book, it's the monster who kills Elizabeth on her and Victor's wedding night. And so I thought that was a really interesting sort of change. Also, most of the movie is set in Scotland. We don't really get a taste of Switzerland and other parts of Europe that Victor travels through in the book. You do definitely get a sense of like the Arctic and sort of that narrative that frames the story where Frankenstein's monster ends up chasing Frankenstein into the Arctic, and then Frankenstein gets rescued by this ship and tells his story, blah, blah, blah. They did that really well, which I appreciated. It is interesting how so many like contemporary interpretations of monster stories from Frankenstein to Dracula and beyond are just like so sympathetic to the monster. I think that's a really sort of postmodern thing that, oh, he's not really evil, he's just misunderstood, it's just because he's been abused, these kinds of things. And there's really that focus on like highlighting the fact that, yeah, that there's a story sort of behind everybody and that things aren't always so black and white. And whether that's good or bad, accurate or inaccurate, is a whole discussion that I don't necessarily want to get into. I'm just pointing that out, that the movie is very sympathetic to Frankenstein's monster and is trying to portray him as actually having a very human soul. They're not making that up. Like, that is, I think, present in the original book, as I've always noticed it, the question of, oh, but what if we had just let that monster be part of our community? What if we had just loved him? What if someone had just been his friend? Would things have been different? Because there definitely is a sense that it's the rejection that drives him to let out his rage and take his revenge. And he does just want love and community and companionship like any other person. I did think the movie also had some interesting spiritual references and spiritual takes, comparing the monster to Adam, suggesting that he's like a pure Adam in a sense. Yeah, there's more to it than that, but I don't want to say too much more or spoil too much more if you haven't watched the movie. I do recommend it. There is like a bit of nudity, but there's not any super explicit content. Well, there is blood and gore. There's a lot of blood and gore, which I had to look away several times. But in terms of how faithful of an adaptation it is to the book, pretty decent, I would say, besides the really obvious thing with Elizabeth. The William and Elizabeth thing was very different. But that sort of the heart of the monster's life and story, the creature's life and story, I think the movie captured pretty well. One other thing I want to say is that apparently tomorrow night I'm meeting a New York Times best-selling author. So the women's writing circle that I'm a part of, apparently the leader of this group knows a New York Times bestselling author and has invited them to our meeting to talk to us about writing and publishing and all these really exciting things. But she hasn't revealed who the author is, so I have no idea who it is or what to expect. But I'm very, very excited at the prospect of meeting a successful author, someone who's been successful in traditional publishing, been on the New York Times bestselling list, and just try to learn and absorb as much as I can from this person, even just about how to get an agent, how to publish, how to get your foot in that world. I'm so pumped about that. The only thing is I don't really read contemporary literature. I don't read New York Times bestsellers because I prefer to read that which has been tried by time, the classics. So I feel a little bit awkward about the fact that that there's basically a 100% chance that I haven't read any of this author's work, which I think puts me at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of having a conversation with them and learning from them. And so I kind of wish I knew who it was so I could maybe at least look into some of their works, maybe read a few chapters or something to be a little bit more prepared for the meeting, but it's going to be a surprise. So probably in the next video, I will catch you guys up on that. Okay, final thing before I end this video. I've been rereading Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and man, I just have a hard time with this book. I can't say that I love it. Like, of course, it is fantastic writing, and it's a really interesting exploration of, I guess, the dark side of humanity. And, you know, it's got that famous line that Catherine says about Heathcliff, that whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. It's definitely a very profound work of literature. I'm not denying that at all, but I have a hard time loving it because of just how awful most of the characters are. Besides, like, Catherine Jr. and Nellie, the servant who tells the story, most of the characters are just so grotesquely selfish and violent and vile. And like Heathcliff, like, he is just the worst. I have a really hard time sympathizing with him. Like, I can to some extent feel sorry for him for not being able to have the relationship that he wants with the woman he loves. I could sympathize with that, and being treated like a servant and like he's less than the rest of them because he's from elsewhere. But other than that, man, I'm so not rooting for him. I don't really know who I'm rooting for, to be honest. But I'm almost finished, and so I'm probably gonna spend the next half an hour to an hour finishing up these final chapters. Maybe I'll talk more about this book in a later video, but I think I much prefer Charlotte Bronte's works, Jane Eyre especially, and then Anne Bronte's works, especially The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, to Emily Bronte. Maybe that's a hot take. Let me know which of the Bronte sisters is your favorite and which Bronte novels you prefer. Let me know if I'm missing something here with Wuthering Heights. Alright, I will end the video here. Thank you for watching. Please leave me a like. Please comment down below your thoughts. And I will see you again very, very soon.